I'm Christopher Shrader. I own Christopher's Creations LLC here in Hays, Kansas. I do a lot more than just run a business. I'm also a drone pilot and a photographer, and pretty much we're going to talk about what I can do with that, especially drone piloting.
What made you want to go into it?
I didn't jump into the drone business to start with. I started with photography. I started as a photographer over 20 years ago with a film camera in my hand, then got into the actual business about 15 years ago in photography. And then I moved into drones about 4 years ago, mainly because I would rather be in the sky than on the ground. And right now, the drones is the only way that I can be in the sky until I can get my actual pilot's license.
So what all does it take to become a pilot with drones?
The biggest thing that you need to be able to do for drone piloting in a professional manner is get your Part 107 drone license. And what this is it's like a regular pilot's license, but it's just for unmanned aerial systems, or UAS is actually what we call drones. You have to go through a course, which you can get through on many online platforms. I personally went through Pilot Institute, and I loved their course for it because of the way they broke it down, made it really easy to comprehend and understand. Once you go through the course, then you have to go take the FAA's examination. You have to pay for that examination as well, even if you don't pass it, you pay up front. Once you pass that, then you get your actual license, and then you can be able to fly in a commercial manner. If you don't want to do a commercial side and you want to do it as a recreational side, you do what's called a trust test. This is an abbreviation for trust, and you go to the FAA's website and you go through their trust category classroom, and then once you're done with that, you take that test, and then you can do things in a recreational manner, but you can't get paid for any of your jobs that you do. And any payment at all, even if you are the one, like, let's say you're a real estate agent and you're selling a property, if you fly a drone without having a Part 107, you're still selling the property for money. Therefore, it's still a commercial license that you have to have. It's very confusing because of the fact that all of the drone world is still very new in the regulations. By new, I mean within 5 years. It takes at least a decade to really get everything set up and get everybody kind of in order and understanding all of those. So one of the things that I prided myself on was researching all that before I even went into that first test, to be able to make sure that I had all my I's dotted and T's crossed to be able to go into the commercial range. For a lot of people, it's just so easy to go to Walmart and pick up a drone and start flying and think, I can do this. And there's a lot more to it than just picking up a drone from your local store.
What do you think is better? Regular photography or drone photography?
I think both have a really big place in my heart for it. Me personally, like I said, I would rather be in the air than on the ground. So I truly love that bird's eye view perspective. So when you're flying in a drone and you're getting that above ground view of anything, it's phenomenal. The problem with drone photography versus regular photography, you can lose some of the detail of the small. So the regular photography really gets into that macro level or floral or animals and really gets that ability to see the detail. You can get some of the wide open fields of flowers with the drones, but you can't get the individual flower as crisp as you would with a regular camera.
Why do you think it's important to do drones and photography? Camera photography.
Just why?
Just why? Why do you do it?
The big reason that I do drone photography or regular photography is because it's the easiest way and the best way for us to capture a moment in time. Taking that memory in our brains is one thing, but being able to go backwards and look at all the different pictures that are just stop time, essentially is like being a time traveler. We can travel back to a place, and that can spark new memories and be able to just reminisce about what we've done. For me, doing it in a professional manner, it allows me to give that gift to somebody else to have that same capability. When I do family portrait photography, having the parents in 15 years look back and be like, do you remember when little Bobby was just a little, like, look at this picture when we were there. We were so happy then. What happened? Well, Bobby grew up. So now we're in where we are. But having that ability to just freeze a moment in time and give that person the ability to have that has just been something wonderful to do. And I like teaching people, talking to people about this. So I teach what I know to people that work here, like you. When you come in and work here, I teach little snippets of ideas of what we've had and what I've worked with, and also can learn from others. I mean, I'm not a full expert in photography. I will be the first one to admit I don't know everything about photography. So bring in people who have been doing it even longer than I have, or even people who haven't, and bringing a whole new idea into it is phenomenal. It's an ever-growing industry, even though camera phones have been kind of taken over most of the everyday photos. It still can't do everything. So there's still a lot more than we can do as a photographer. It's kind of hard to put this on a drone.
Do you have like a favorite moment that you've captured?
I have so many favorite moments I've captured. It's so hard to be able to narrow down which one, because so many different pictures I've taken, I've tried to go after a certain type of picture. And if it was star trails or a flower shot with a specific background or a mountain range at a specific time of year, I've always had this like passion to get the perfect shot. But most of my memorable shots are ones that I weren't going after. It was literally just, I had the camera, I grabbed it, I took a picture and said, I took that? I didn't take that. And just that surprise of what I was able to capture. One of the ones I did it was actually targeted to do or planned to do was my Astro Starry Night photo that I have from Castle Rock, Kansas. For those who don't know, Kansas has such amazing, beautiful things to look at. If you're not from the state of Kansas, don't worry, it's just a flyover state. You don't need to visit. But anyone who's in Kansas, we know of all the stuff that we have around here. Castle Rock is one of those places to go. It's off the beaten path, and there's very little light pollution in the area. So I was able to capture pretty much all the stars that were in the sky over a 1 hour time frame. And it just, as the Earth rotates, it just turns and creates these light trails behind them while the rocks stay just fixed in that one spot. And the clarity that can come from it is just, it's amazing to see. That was one of my favorite ones. One of my other favorite ones that was like an impromptu capture was actually when we were in Rocky Mountain National Park. I had to have been 17 or 16 years old. I was really young at that time. And we were taking pictures of this elk out in this field at Rocky Mountain National Park. My parents were inside the van, and I was at the front of the van. And I'm just snapping pictures down the way. Not a big deal, just enjoying everything. And all of a sudden, I hear this next to me. So I lower the camera and I look over, and not even 2 feet from where I was this elk just standing there. I immediately froze. My dad's got a picture looking down the hood of the van. You see the top of my head, not at the front of the van. You see the elk's face just looking at me, sniffing around, trying to figure out what I am. As it walks away, I see this bull elk coming down the hill, and I was able to capture this shot looking up the hill. And it was just an immediate capture. It wasn't the one I was targeting. I wanted to catch the bull that was bugling out in the field. And it was a cold day, so you could see the breath coming off of the elk. But having him come down out of the woods, that actually turned out to be a better picture than the one I was trying to do out in the field. And it would happen just that fast. Yeah. There's been a lot of close calls with nature that I've had over the years. Sometimes not even being a photographer, it just happens. Thankfully, it's never been anything dangerous where I may not have walked away, but it was still like, don't move. I had one where I was taking pictures of bighorn sheep, and I was probably around 13 or 14 at the time for that one. And trust me, not all my stories are I was a teenager and did stupid teenage things. But I was taking pictures of bighorn sheep, and something spooked them on the other side of the ravine. I had probably about maybe 100 or 150 feet between me and the bighorn sheep, and I was in the trees while they were all out in the field. So I'm still trying to keep my distance from them. I don't want to disturb them. But something spooked them on the other side of the ravine, and they came running at me, where I literally jumped in between these two trees that created a V like this, and I'm in there, and I'm watching the bighorn sheep run around me. And I'm just like, please don't hit me, please don't hit me, please don't hit me, please don't hit me. Sadly, no pictures were taken at the time of them running, because I was a little scared for my life at that point. But it'll still, I have pictures of taking of them in that field. And I know whenever I go and look back at those, I'll remember the, oh, don't hit me, don't hit me, don't hit me. Or the time that we were fishing and my wife was behind me reading a book, and all of a sudden we hear this branch snap behind both of us. And I was like, why is she breaking branches? I turn around at the same time she does, and there is this bull moose walking out of the woods, literally right for where I'm standing. And I'm like, don't move. I am a tree. That's all I am. And he walked probably about 10, 15 feet away from where I was. Now, if you've never seen a moose 10 feet away, they're tall. They're big. I'm me compared to this big moose. He just meanders right into the lake and keeps on going. And I'm like, okay, you do you. I'm going to go that way and go fishing. I was in my late 20s on that one. So I was already married. I think it was our 1-year anniversary trip that we did on that one. We've been on a lot of trips. Yeah, I mean, we take a camera everywhere we go. Any time we go on an adventure, I've been to Great Sand Dunes in Colorado. I've been to the Grand Canyon of Arizona. I've been to Bryce Canyon in Zion up in Utah. I've been to, pretty much anywhere in those areas. Arizona, Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, parts of California. We went to the Hoover Dam in Vegas once. I mean, there's a lot of places we've gone to, and just take pictures at each place that we go.
What would you tell younger you when it comes to like your business?
Don't go anywhere without your camera. No, I mean that's always what I tell younger me. The biggest thing I tell younger me is there's gonna be floods and there's gonna be famines. And just try and push through as many of the famines as you can and don't get discouraged. If you're in the middle of a famine, just keep doing what you can to survive it and push forward into the next flood of whatever comes your way.
Where do you see your business in the next, let's say 10 years?
On every billboard in America. I'm just kidding. Kodak. No, I'm joking. No, in reality, I would actually see my business in the next 10 years being something that I can not only be able to make a living from, but have a legacy to pass down to my son if I'd like to, if he wants to continue on being a photographer. I mean, he's already a shutterbug to begin with. We gave him an iPad, and he will not stop taking pictures from the iPad. Especially when we're in the car, all I hear is click, 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 click as we're driving by Kansas. I'm like, bud, I know it's a digital camera, but you can save some of your memory for pictures. But we gave him a little, those little point and shoot kid cameras, and he loves it. It's one of his favorite things to do, and I'm so happy to see it's going to be a continuing passed on. I'm already a third generation photographer in the family, but I'm not the first one to start a business, but I'm the first one to move into like drones for the business. And I'd love to see him go to whatever's next after drones and keep that moving forward. I predict that there will be more struggles in life. I honestly think that people are going to see photography more as not just a luxury item anymore, but as something that captures quality. Phone cameras do pretty good at capturing snapshots, and I wouldn't say pretty good, I'd say really good at capturing snapshots, but photographers still have a very big place in the world to capture those quality style photos. Not just, oh hey, we're all here at the family gathering, let's gather around and get a picture and we can remember it as a scrapbook style photo. But to get that one that you would print in a large format and hang on a wall, and when people kind of visit, they say, oh, that's such a wonderful family. Well, yeah, Bobby was about 4 then. Now he's 16. So giving that capability to the families are there. And the drones are just going to keep going. We saw this once before when we went from film era to the digital era. We're now going into the drone era, and we're going to see things advance more in that field. So being able to be in the very beginning of that is kind of nice. So I really do see that that's going to be where things are going to start going into. Like I said, drones still are kind of new in the market. So a lot of people are still trying to figure out what we can do and where. There are so many different advantages that drone have over a still camera that it's more cost effective, especially if you're doing something large like your family farm. You want to get pictures of your family farm at whatever state it's in at that point. Because back in the day, it was an actual pilot that came through with a camera and would take pictures of people's farms, and you could well see what that farm looked like back when Grandpa owned the property. Well, now you can have a drone come and take photos, and we can be able to mimic where that plane was with the drone and take the same style of image. So you can be able to do these compare and contrast as the decades go on and see how much your property has expanded or changed or whatever the case may be. It's also really good for agricultural work on mapping out an entire field. We can be able to take a drone to a 40-acre field and have it mapped out within an hour at a third of the cost of what it would take to be able to have a plane do it, because they still have to go find the nearest airport, take off from there, fly over, then set up a grid pattern. We already have the capability. We just use GPS to mark where the corners of the property are, and then we can take pictures on a back and forth sweeping motion and take a much more detailed picture with the drone, because we're only 100 feet off the ground when we're taking our photos. When we stitch them all together, you can actually zoom in and count the shingles on your house by how detailed these photos can be. So builds into construction too. People will use that. We did for a construction project in this town as construction progression. We flew the exact same path every 2 weeks for the entire year that the building was being built. And you could be able to see the building in a time lapse at the end of how it was built and build up from the foundation. So it's a great documentation for that, where again, you don't have to have permanent cameras set up all the time. You just fly the drone and keep it going. Drones are definitely going to have their place in the video world, and we're going to see a lot more in cinema. We already are in the cinema world when we see what used to be a helicopter taking these aerial shots are now being produced with a drone, where you can be able to fly closer to your subjects. You can be able to get right up next to them without actually having that rotor wash that we used to have when people would be shooting with the helicopters. So cinema is going to completely change from that. And we have some drones that they actually have follow technology now, where when you launch them, you can start walking and it will just follow you. It just selects you as the subject, and we'll just keep going, and you can control it just by using hand motions. We've got a long ways just in the short time that we've had drones.
So where do you think drones are going to go in the next, we'll say 5 years?
High up.
High up?
No. I really think that drones are going to become not just smaller, because we've got some pretty small drones right now, but we're going to see larger drones that can travel for a longer distance and longer airtime. We've got some drones that can stay in the air for about an hour and 20 minutes on perfect conditions. One of my biggest drone that I have only has a 45-minute flight time. 45 minutes seems like not very much time, but when you're doing something like the construction progression, I can get 3 different paths done in that one battery. But you can't do a lot of farm work if you're doing large properties in a 45-minute battery of just one battery. So you have to cycle through multiple batteries as you're doing your flights. I see that we're going to have a lot longer flight time, and our camera equipment, we're going to see cameras that are as good a quality as what we have on still imagery and videography cameras are going to be put into the drones in a very smaller, lighter package, so that we can really get the same quality and the same capabilities as what they have for the cameras that we already do. I mean, we've seen it. Most people don't have a still camera and a video camera. They're both in the same unit. I mean, me personally, I don't have an actual video camera. All my stuff is recorded through my regular still cameras because they work just the same now. And drones are going to have that same capability. I've seen people actually just use a selfie stick style on their drone to use it as a regular video camera when it's not even flying, because their quality is so much better in a smaller capability. They can be able to do stuff like that.
Cool.
And we can do so many different things. I mean, drone racing is a big deal. So many people watch those where they've got these drones that fly in and around through buildings and through courses and stuff like that. It looks fast on TV. I'm going to tell you, it's even faster looking when you're actually looking through the goggles. I fly in Nevada, and I've flown through buildings where I thought, oh my gosh, I am flying so fast through this. And then I get on the footage, and I'm like, I'm so slow. And then people see the footage like, man, that's so fast. That's so amazing. That's a lot slower than what it was when it was in the goggles.